let's take a look. So in our sketchbooks, we'll see a couple hands. And so what I want to get across is what the hand is really made of, what it comes down to in our drawings, because it's made up of shapes, right? And so you have cylinders for the thumb and the fingers. You have a relatively flat surface. It depends on how you look at the hand, but there's a curvature here that's happening, a little bit of a curve, right? And then the wrist itself, that's another cylinder, just like the fingers. And so knowing that, you can look at it, and you can see that the top part where the light source is brighter, and then it's less on the other part. Now I have two lights here, and I can turn off this other light. No need to have two lights going. And so you can see that there's a lighter side, and then it progressively gets darker as it comes to the other side. There's also creases where the fingers bend, right? And other lines. So we want to capture those too. But first, I just want to show you that it's made up of cylinders. So they're made up of forms. And so once again, my stencil has limitations, so I can finish off some of these lines and kind of go over what's happening here. So I can look at this. And so I can take this thumb, for instance. I can see where it's light here, and it gets light here, and it gets progressively darker as it moves around. So it's light in here, so there's very little value there, and then it gets progressively darker as it comes to the other side. It gets progressively darker as it comes over to this side, right? And then it's really light here, but it gets a little darker on the outside, so it's a little darker over here. Light, and then gets to that shape, right? Just ignore that, because obviously the thumb is attached. Same thing here, cylinders. So here's a cylinder, lighter, and gets progressively darker as we move around. Lighter, and gets progressively darker as we move around the cylinder. Lighter, and then gets progressively darker as we move around the cylinder. Lighter, progressively darker as we move around the cylinder. Even here, lighter, progressively darker. And then even here, because this is leaning more than the others, you see that roundness happening here. So there's even a little bit of that roundness happening where it comes around that corner. A little bit on these. Not so much on these because of the angle from the light source. Okay, so brighter on this side, a little shaded here because of the angle. This side is flatter facing the light source, so it's going to be lighter in here. It's actually going to be pretty light across the whole top, but there might be a little more value in here than it is in the rest. And I'm being a little sloppy. I don't need to spend hours on this, but I do need you to get this right. This is important. There's also a little value happening here because this part sticks out a little bit. And so there's some value happening here. This is rough though, because these are just some forms I want to get the basic values on. This side over here, darker. This side down here, not as dark, but darker than up here. And then the wrist, same thing. Lighter, and then it gets progressively darker as it moves around. It's got a little value here, lighter, progressively darker as it moves around. We got the basics going down. Now what I want you to do is convert it to the regular hand. So if you understand this, you understand this. This is going to take you more time. I don't want to see an outline. So depending on how dark I made your stencil, these leading edges where the light is hitting are going to be lighter, so you might want to start by lightening those up nice and light. The other side, the other edge, these edges will be darker, so you don't have to worry about those as much. That's a leading edge. That's going to be lighter because in the end, I don't want to see those. I don't want to see outlines. right? And so I can start anywhere. I typically start on the left and work my way right, since I'm right-handed and I don't want to smear my paper. And so and once again, I don't want any white areas. I want there to be value. Even in the lightest areas, I want there to be value. So I'm going to start here by just lightly putting some value on here. I'm not scribbling. I'm just letting the pencil, basically the weight of the pencil, dictate how much value I'm putting on there. And I'm just getting the area, and I might just go ahead and add value to a lot of the hand, because it's just going to be a general value at this point. I don't want to see streaks, so I want to be a little careful that I'm not making streaks. I don't want to see lines, and so I'm going to work on this thumb, and I can see on my own hand it's you know, lighter on this side, darker on this side. Oh, whoops! First thing you want to do is really to put a lot of these lines in and get those in first, so I can see some down in here, a couple of lines, and the thumb is right in here. Not too dark. That can always be developed later. And then there's a little bit of a nail in there. And then I can capture very lightly. And it comes out here a little bit. And then back. And so I want to, once again, I don't want outlines. So I want to match that value and pull away from it. Match that value and pull away. Match that value, pull away. That might be too dark, so I want to lighten that. And then on the back side of the thumb, I can see value on here, so I'm gonna jack that up and get that darker, and then fade it in, fade it in. I can see some in here where the crease is, a little curve there, and then comes out. Darken here. I don't want to blur this line here. I don't want value out on this area. So I got to be careful about that. Pull my eraser in there. Get that area. Get the value going out from there. Get the value going out from there. A little bit of fine work in there. See a little bit of a crease in here. There's a little bit of crease in here on the top of my thumb, so I want to capture some of that. Coming down. This part's a little darker than that part. Not a whole lot darker, but a little bit. So I can capture that value. And you can see how real the thumb already looks, right? Now I got this big line in here. I want to see that. I'll come back to that. Let's go back up to the finger here. I can see crease line here. Kind of pinches in a little bit. It's not a flat line across on me. A little pinch in here. Some creases in there. And very light, subtle crease up here. But you can see how the value changes. Very light on this edge. Just So you should end up with something that looks like this. Clean edges. Looks pretty much like a hand. Looks really good. You can add some more details if you want. Get in there.